Hello all, welcome back to my first video, and let's go through and discuss something near and dear to me. So I've got a story to tell you. I called my credit card company up and I'd misplaced my phone. All of a sudden, my bank started acting strange. They started asking me questions that they had never asked me before, and it sort of set up a red flag. I was trying to figure out what happened. Something had changed, something was different, and I wanted to know why. Turns out that there is this whole system in place, an almost bank vault that I had failed one of the pieces of verification without even knowing it, and I had to go through and answer some more security questions. I want to go through and discuss this together so that way we can make sure that you don't make the same mistakes that I did in order to have an easier time with your customer service. So let's go through and discuss it together. There is a federal mandate called Regulation P that keeps your information safe. The purpose of it is that if there's ever any financial institutions, they like to make sure that your information is safe, so they require at least three pieces of information. The most important is your name. So for example, let's say that your name is William Jefferson, and you call in, you've made this particular account, you like to go by Bill. So you put your name as Bill Jefferson. You call in, you give the name as William Jefferson, as that's your birth name. Because the lending institution has your name as Bill, you've gone through and failed verification on it. Always make sure to give the name that is on file that's on the bill or on the credit card if you've got a credit card, because that's the name that they have on file, and that is the first piece that needs to be passed every time. The second piece that most of the time happens, it's less important, but it's also something that you can do to make things go a lot smoother, is you can go through and call from the phone number that they have on file. Caller ID is a thing. That can be a point of verification, hitting you two pieces of verification. Personally, with the earlier story, I had failed to call in from the number I had on file, so I had some additional questions that I had to answer in order to be able to get into my own account, and it just sent up a bunch of red flags with me on why they were asking me all these new questions. The third piece that they will generally ask is something like your address, last four of your social, your date of birth. It, by different companies, they have different pieces. For example, sometimes they may ask for your policy number if you're talking about a mortgage, or they may ask for your account number. This is something specific to you. The big reason why they ask about these things is because they want to make sure it's you asking, not someone else. Also, unless you have someone as like a power of attorney or someone who is an account manager on file, you may not be able to do it unless you have that person with you. So make sure that you are the person who owns the account, is calling in order to get the information. Things will go a whole lot smoother. Now, one of the things that I always like to talk about is once in a while I'll get a call from my bank asking me, so was this you making this transaction? If they start asking personal questions from you and you feel it's suspicious, ask them to please go through and notate the account. You will give them a call back. Give them a call back and give them the proper three pieces of verification. Call the number up that is specifically on your card or is specifically for the company. Don't go through and rely on a specific number, because sometimes that can also be a scam. The big reason why you want to do this is if it is the legitimate company, most companies keep an active notes, sort of like building a reputation with that company, and they will have all of the information on file, including the notes of the previous agent that you were dealing with. This is to go through and keep your information safe, so that way they can build a reputation with you, you can build a reputation with them, and you know exactly what's going on. Why should you care? Because I always like an easier time getting through. If I know exactly what I need in order to talk to my bank, I can pass all of those pieces of verification. I don't get asked questions that make me suspect my bank is fraud or my credit card company is fraud, and I can actually go through and have a smoother time dealing with it. The other thing is that if you go through and make sure all your information is kept up to date with them, you can have an easier time. Let's say, for example, the last thing you want to do is to be reported late on either a credit card or a banking statement, or to have to answer additional questions if you moved 6 months ago. So always make sure to keep your information up to date. It will also make it harder for people to go through and commit identity theft on you if you go through and make sure that you do not give out your personal information unless you know that you're talking to your bank. If you ever have a question, give them a call back, because most of the time, 95% of the time, you can go through and call them back and make sure all your information is safe. If you, I always like to know this information, so I always like to pass it along to you. So do me a favor, please like, subscribe to this channel, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I do enjoy talking, and just as a heads up, I'm not a credit specialist, so I cannot talk explicitly on credit details, and this is just advice on how to go through and make things smoother. I hope you have an amazing day and stay safe.